President Trump himself has just confirmed something that conservative outlets have been reporting on for years, and the legacy media is absolutely flipping out over it. We're talking about one of the single most odious, repulsive members of Congress officially under an immigration fraud investigation that just went from conspiracy theory to confirmed by the federal government, by the president himself. Stick with me to the very end of this video because we're going to see just how deep this rabbit hole really goes, how it all connects to the biggest fraud scandals in Minnesota history, and why the walls are finally closing in on one of the most anti-American radicals in the nation. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. This weekend, Sunday night, President Trump posted a bombshell report from Just the News straight to Truth Social. No commentary, no caption. He just let the headline speak for itself, confirming that Immigration and Customs Enforcement has active or contemplated enforcement proceedings against the ultra-repulsive Minneapolis Democrat Ilhan Omar over long-standing allegations of immigration fraud. Just the News filed a Freedom of Information Act request back in January asking ICE to turn over any records related to investigations into Ilhan Omar. And ICE said no, they can't. And they turned down the request by citing a specific federal law, U.S. Code 5, Section 552, which is the exemption that protects law enforcement material specifically because releasing it could compromise or interfere with an ongoing investigation enforcement proceeding. In other words, you invoke that exemption because there's an active ongoing investigation that the government does not want compromised. That's the clearest official confirmation we've gotten yet that federal scrutiny of Ilhan Omar is real and it is active. Now, President Trump's Truth Social post comes on the heels of something that Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed a couple of months back when he said this.
We actually think that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. And I talked to Stephen Miller about this actually recently. We're trying to look at what the remedies are. That's the thing that we're trying to figure out is what are the legal remedies now that we know that she's committed immigration fraud? How do you go after her? How do you investigate her? How do you actually do the thing? How do you build the case necessary to get some justice for the American people? There's a related issue, Benny, which is she has been at the center of a lot of the worst fraudsters in the Somalian community. So do I know that Ilhan Omar was aware that the Quality Leering Center was defrauding the American people? I'm not certain of it, but we at least need to investigate it, because if people can commit wrongdoing without even the fear that they're going to be found out, that's a fundamental problem. So I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along.
And things are so serious that Newsweek actually ran an entire piece asking the straight up question, can Ilhan Omar really be deported? And the legal analysis they published said, yes. Yes, if the immigration fraud allegation is proven, if she did in fact marry her brother to obtain citizenship for him, as has been alleged for years, that would indeed most certainly constitute a deportable offense, even for a sitting member of Congress, if her own citizenship was obtained fraudulently. So when the Vice President of the United States goes on national television, says definitely, not allegedly, not reportedly, not, well, there are some questions about, no, when he comes out and says, most definitely she committed immigration fraud, and then the President of the United States over the weekend reveals that there is an ongoing federal investigation. That's not a casual political attack, okay? That's an existential threat that a member of Congress may indeed be deported. Now, if you have been under a rock of late, for years now, Ilhan Omar has been dogged with the questions about her marriage to a man named Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi, who, according to allegations, is actually her biological brother. She claimed to have married him specifically to help him gain legal status in the United States. Omar has denied this repeatedly, calling it, in her words, a bigoted lie, right? I mean, of course, she always goes to the old blame game playbook of racism and xenophobia and the like. Nothing empowers liberal women more like victimhood, ironically. But here's the thing. It's never gone away. These allegations, I mean, no matter how many times her defenders and the legacy media try to laugh it off as right-wing fever dream, they don't go away. There appears to be a lot of smoke there. Border czar Tom Homan confirmed back in December that he personally ordered Omar's immigration records pulled for review. And Homan didn't stop there. He revealed that an experienced Homeland Security Investigations fraud investigator had already reviewed her file previously and raised serious concerns about possible fraud. It's obviously not some random low-level staffer pulling a file out of curiosity. This is the border czar himself telling you directly that professional fraud investigators flagged this case. And then, of course, you had J.D. Vance saying that he had very good reason to believe that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. And keep in mind, this is the guy who's heading the federal task force against fraud across the country. So he's obviously seen the files. He's seen the classified reports. And ironically, it's the kind of fraud that we've been seeing in Minneapolis that the federal government is now cracking down on, that may indeed be the impetus for Ilhan Omar's deportation. Wait until you see this. But first, while the corrupt federal elites have been quietly building wealth through cryptocurrency, hardworking American patriots have been left behind. And today, I want to tell you about Block Trust IRA, because they're bringing access to cryptocurrency wealth to real Americans. Now, I've partnered with Block Trust IRA because their mission perfectly aligns with President Trump's Make America Great Again agenda, smashing down the barriers between loyal patriots and the financial freedom they deserve. And their Animus AI trading platform works 24/7, analyzing market data and executing advanced crypto strategies that are beyond simply buy and hold, helping true American patriots build impressive wealth in Trump's historic economic boom. There's a reason their system was named the #1 crypto technology platform by Bitcoin Magazine from over 1,500 global competitors. And whether you're a teacher or truck driver or small business owner, retiree watching inflation eat away your 401k, Block Trust IRA's advanced Animus AI gives red-blooded Americans the same advantages as those coastal elites. Other crypto investment platforms simply give you a cockpit, but Block Trust gives you a trained pilot to navigate the market with precision. And Block Trust's world-class AI watches your hard-earned money 24/7, minimizing your downside risk so that you can maximize your returns. And with military-grade security, investments are protected by up to $200 million in insurance. So what are you waiting for? Give them a visit, turleytalkscrypto.com, and find out how they can help you join the Trump Crusade financial revolution that's finally giving forgotten Americans access to the greatest crypto wealth opportunity in history. And for a limited time, they're offering my viewers up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you open up an account with them, because crypto created 80,000 new millionaires last year under Trump's phenomenal economic leadership. So why not you next? Visit turleytalkscrypto.com. That's turleytalkscrypto.com, making retirement great again. Now, let's put this in context, because this fraud task force isn't some isolated one-off operation aimed at Ilhan Omar specifically. As you know, this is part of a much bigger, sweeping crackdown on fraud across the entire country. And Vance laid it out in stunning detail at a recent cabinet meeting. So just in the first 51 days of this task force work, there have been over 400 law enforcement actions. So we're talking search warrants, arrests, convictions, indictments. They found massive student loan fraud at the Department of Education involving illegal aliens. And get this, people who aren't even real. People who aren't even real human beings were collecting hundreds of millions of dollars. They discovered housing fraud at HUD, tens of billions in Medicaid and Medicare fraud uncovered by HHS, $1 billion fraud conviction out of Florida involving call centers set up in the Philippines to scam senior citizens, 15 arrests in, of course, Minnesota. 15 arrests in Minnesota alone just in the last week. Many of them people in this country illegally stealing benefits meant for children. Attorney General Todd Blanche put it plainly, with direct presidential backing, the feds are not just uncovering the fraud, they're prosecuting it. They're crushing it. And Ilhan Omar's file just happens to be sitting right in the middle of that fraud exposure machine. And there's another element to that fraud that makes things even more maddening here. Ilhan Omar is part of a larger phenomenon where individuals arrive in this country from failed states like Somalia. They get elevated by the American left through elite scholarships and institutional backing to get put into Democrat politics. And then they turn around and they spend their entire careers attacking the very country that gave them the opportunity for a new life in the first place. It's technically known as third worldism, where immigrants who are actually rescued from the third world end up out of bitterness and resentment festered on them and imposed on them by our cultural Marxist university professors. They turn on that very first world that rescued them in the first place. So Omar came to the United States from Somalia in 1995. She became a citizen in 2000. That's an incredible American story, one that should inspire gratitude, not resentment. But instead, what we've gotten for years is a member of Congress who routinely trashes our nation, questions its legitimacy, and now stands accused of committing fraud against the very immigration system that gave her citizenship in the first place. But regardless, the irony here is that massive fraud, the literal billions of dollars of welfare fraud that's been exposed in Ilhan Omar's backyard in Minneapolis, that may indeed be the occasion for her eventual deportation. Omar's alleged links to Minnesota's $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud stem largely from her 2020 Meals Act, which loosened oversight of federally funded child nutrition programs, and it created the exact loophole exploited by the fraud ring. She also has documented personal ties to convicted figures, including hosting her 2018 victory party at Safari Restaurant that was at the center of this Minneapolis fraud, employing former campaign officials who pleaded guilty in the fraud scheme, receiving campaign donations from at least two men who later pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering in the case. And so, as it would appear, the questions of fraud plaguing Omar's entire political career just keep piling up. One indictment, one guilty plea, one uncomfortable coincidence at a time. And no amount of "it's a bigoted lie" talking points is going to make them disappear before the American people finally get the answers they deserve.